So, did you know that based on just 2 questions, I can predict with 90% accuracy whether or not you and your partner will reconcile after an affair? It's surprising, but it's true. Let me explain a little bit. You know that my colleagues and I surveyed 5,783 individuals about affairs. We did 2 surveys. We did one for straying partners, those who had cheated in the relationship, and one for betrayed partners, those who were hurt by an affair. We gathered all that data and we started to analyze it. Now we've just begun to really deeply analyze it, but we're finding some amazing predictive abilities in our data. We have actually found 6 variables that predict reconciliation 74% of the time, and 2 of these variables predict reconciliation 90% of the time. So when people tell you that you can't heal from an affair, that's BS, and I can scientifically prove it. My colleagues and I are in the process of writing a manuscript that we're going to submit to peer-reviewed journals, and we hope to have this published soon. But the data is so important and so reassuring that I had to bring it to you because so many people are told, and the narrative in our field for a long time was, you can't heal from an affair, just let the relationship go. So I want to really challenge that because I know it's not true, and now I can scientifically prove that it's not true. So until we're ready to publish, I'm going to share tidbits of the data and clue you into what we're finding. So let's start with one of the first charts that I'm ready to share, and we can talk about some of the variables that are influencing whether or not you're likely to reconcile. All right, so here we go. Okay, so here is the first chart that I want to point out to you. And the reason I want to show this to you, I know you can't read the labels, is to show you how big and wide that top bar is. So remember that in a minute when I show you, when I zoom in on all of the labels below. So this is that same chart zoomed in, and now you can read up and down what the variables are that predict whether or not somebody's going to reconcile. The one at the top corresponds to that big long bar you saw in the previous chart, partner in love. That tells us that if a person is still in love with their partner, even though they had the affair, they are very likely to reconcile. The second bar that you see says AP in love. If somebody was not in love with their AP during the affair, that also predicts reconciliation. Age is the third most important variable, and for that I'm going to have to do a whole separate video because there's some interesting things we see with age. People who are very young versus very old they're not really that old, I'm almost that age. Older in the data tend to reconcile at higher rates than people who are kind of at the midpoint. So I'll explain more. Then people who saw affairs as an addiction or who experienced limerence were more likely to reconcile. So more on all of this, but these are the variables that we're seeing as predictors of whether or not you can reconcile after an affair. So tell me what you think about all this. I can't wait to share more with you. I'm just so excited.